This Week in Japan is presented by the Japan Center for Information and Cultural Affairs and is brought to you by Evergreen, Zenshu, the Central Union of Agricultural Cooperatives, Omron Tateshi Electronics Company, Wackle Women's Intimate Apparel, Bridgestone, Mitsubishi Electric, and by Sagawa Express.
In Japan, November 15th is known as Shichigo-san, literally 753. It is the custom of taking 5-year-old boys and 7 or 3-year-old girls to the local Shinto shrine to pray for their safe and healthy future. This is Tokyo's Meiji Jingu Shrine. It is one of the most popular places to see the young children dressed in their traditional Sunday best on their way to worship. We'll show you the colorful costumes and the serenity of the ceremony as the children receive their blessings. Next, we'll show you how a Japanese television network visited America to find out just how much Americans really know about Japan. Then you'll learn how thousands of Japanese tempt fate this time of year by partaking of the fatal fugu fish, a poisonous Japanese delicacy. We'll take you to a festival for good fortune, a colorful attraction designed to bring in good luck. Next, you'll see master bamboo craftsmen of Japan performing their expert skills of their dyeing trade. Finally, we'll profile a longtime resident of Hokkaido who discusses the island and its people. But first, we'll recap some of the top news stories making headlines in Japan this past week. I'm Mal Adams. These stories coming up on This Week in Japan. These are the grounds of Meiji Jingu, Tokyo's largest Shinto shrine. It is the occasion of the annual Autumn Grand Festival, highlighted by demonstrations of various forms of ancient martial arts. Some of them date back more than 400 years, but are kept alive by modern-day practitioners. Among the highlights of the day, the performance of an ancient style of horseback archery known as yabusame. Also this week, a rare look at a traditional Japanese wooden home from 100 years ago. It's part of the annual House and Garden Tour. Then a cultural crossover concert of sorts, traditional music of the Japanese imperial court, blended with ceremonial Buddhist music and a touch of Beethoven. We'll have a report. November is the month for Shichigo-san, an annual holiday for children between the ages of 3 and 7 years. This week, we'll give you an inside look at the making of a special candy for the event. And finally, we'll profile world-famous composer-singer Stevie Wonder, who took time out from his concert tour here to share some of his musical genius with Japanese music students. I'm Mal Adams. These stories and more coming up on This Week in Japan. This is the Budokan, built as a center for martial arts in Japan, but it is also an arena for various other public events. This week, members of the Association for the Promotion of Japanese Traditional Arts gathered here for the annual arts competition. Among the events, Shigin, the recitation of Japanese and Chinese poems in song. It is an art form that dates back more than 1,300 years. You'll see some competitors from all over the nation vying for top honors, chanting classical poems that express the spirit of the Japanese people. In our news feature this week, a look at the ongoing efforts by foreign business interests to further crack the Japanese market. Then you'll see how some lucky foreign residents of Japan got a chance to model some of the latest fashions from the nation's leading lady of design. Next, we'll take you to the city of Yokohama this week for a visit to one of the world's largest department stores. And you'll meet the author of a new book about the Tokyo megalopolis in this week's profile. I'm Mal Adams. These stories and more coming up on This Week in Japan. This is Tokyo's Korakuen Stadium. It is the site of the first U.S.-Japan Championship Baseball Series. When the 1983 world champion Baltimore Orioles came to town, they found that the word adjustments had taken on a whole new meaning. This week, we'll show you the adjustments many foreign baseball players have to make when playing under the Japanese system, and you'll meet some of the top American players who are doing well here. Next, you'll find out how fast ticket punchers at one of the world's busiest commuter stations have to punch in order to accommodate millions of passengers who crowd through this terminal day in and day out. Then meet Japan's newest animal idol. This time, it's a koala craze that has captured the hearts of the country. The cuddly creatures are given first-class treatment upon arriving in Japan from down under. This week's profile is with a hot new band from Japan that has burst onto the musical scene here and is destined for international recognition on the pop charts. But first, we'll recap some of the top news stories making headlines in Japan, and you'll see how American students here are following the U.S. presidential campaign. I'm Mal Adams. These stories coming up on This Week in Japan. This is Beppu City Spa Beach, located on Japan's southernmost main island of Kyushu. It is the site of the 11th annual All-Japan Windsurfer Class Championships. The sport of board sailing, as it is called here, is experiencing tremendous growth among Japanese of all ages. We'll show you the color and excitement of the event. We'll also give you a bird's-eye view of the popular resort town of Beppu. Then we'll show you how the Japanese yen is taking on a new look as the government issues new currency notes. You'll get a demonstration of the Japanese art of stick fighting, and you'll meet an all-Japanese Dixieland band that may surprise you. I'm Mal Adams. These stories coming up on This Week in Japan. This is the Tokyo Olympic Memorial Stadium, the site of the 8th annual Mirage Ball, the only official NCAA game played in Japan. Each year this time, the speed and thrills of genuine American college football come to Japan. The Japanese fans that fill this stadium are not only knowledgeable about the game, but deeply involved. We'll show you the color and excitement of the event. You'll see a rare public performance of ancient Buddhist music with some modern variations. Then you'll meet the wild monkeys of Mount Takasaki who reside in their natural habitat on Japan's southernmost main island of Kyushu. This week's profile is with an American executive of a Japanese advertising firm who gives us a look at some top TV ads in Japan. And you'll hear the Japanese side of the controversial whaling issue. But first, a recap of some of the top stories making news in Japan this past week. I'm Mal Adams. These stories coming up on This Week in Japan. And so it is, This Week in Japan. Mal Adams, CNN, Tokyo.
This program is presented by the Japan Center for Information and Cultural Affairs in order to create better understanding between Japanese and American peoples. To apply for sponsorship, call Daiichi Kikaku, the sole agent for this program, at these numbers. In New York, call area code 212-757-5444. In Los Angeles, area code 213-937-5100.